What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon
What's up? What's up?
and LeVon Maynard.
Hey, welcome to the show.
What is going on? So this is Wednesday's episode. So it's our discussion episode. Monday and Tuesday went over our topics. Monday, we talked about a fertility clinic having a data breach. Tuesday, we discussed some metrics on how much it costs to secure your company versus how much breaches are costing. Just really big numbers that came from Microsoft, right? That's their poll. Just the Risk IQ's 2021 Evil Internet Minute Report is where that was pulled from. So some really interesting stats. We go into training and what have you as well. So really good conversation. Today, I found this one interesting because this is, it shouldn't surprise me. It's just funny how it's written. So it says CTOs keeping quiet on breaches to avoid cyber blame game. So this one comes from Info Security. Magazine.com. It was written by Phil Muncaster, and it goes over the metrics of basically how people don't want to snitch on themselves, right? So when it comes to being a chief technology officer, right, you don't necessarily want to lose your job because you found something or there was a breach and what have you. So a lot of the article is alluding that a lot of this is being swept under the rug. There's a lot more breaches than we currently know of. And it's because they don't want to be blamed for it. In part because the other C's in your suite may not understand how cyber works. And then the other part being no one wants to lose their job. So it's kind of a sad state of affairs. There's a Keeper Security polled 1,000 UK IT decision makers at businesses of between 100 to 5,000 employees. It revealed that security breaches are widespread. 92% of respondents said their organization suffered one in the past year, and over 3/4 or 78% feel unprepared to deal with cyber threats. So 2022 looks a lot like 2021, was a lot like 2020. On and on and on to infinity. But I just want to get you guys' opinion about this. It's not funny, but it's funny to me because like this, this should be common sense. Like any organization, if they see something that would jeopardize their job, they will be less prompt to tell you about it. But in these positions, like your job is to protect the business. So if you're not revealing your breaches, you are not doing your business any service. But how do you guys feel about this?
Yeah, it's definitely like a important topic. And then, you know, this goes outside of like even cyber, just in general. I think it's kind of a human nature. Everybody's kind of looking out for their job. And even I don't know, I'll compare it to like maybe a car dealership or something like that. And if they find a car that like, you know, they see some small issue that happened, like, oh, somebody damages part of it, but we're not going to tell the person that, you know, we're selling the car to that this got damaged during the shipping or something like that. It's kind of like a similar thing. Like they're looking out for themselves, obviously, and looking out. Like I'm assuming from the article, it makes it seem like the people found that they got breached, but they took care of it to try to kind of sweep underneath the rug. Like, let's make sure this doesn't happen again, but we're not going to tell anybody about it. You know, in fear of losing a job. So it doesn't come as a surprise to me. Obviously, it's not a good thing overall. It's something that, you know, affects our numbers overall as far as when we track these cyber incidents and people like ourselves that get maybe our information gets leaked out. And some of these companies that we may not know about have our information leaked out and not even tell us about it in fear of losing their jobs. It's obviously a big concern. So definitely not okay in my book. But it doesn't surprise me. And I know it kind of affects other industries as well. Just pretty much anything you imagine. Even like, I don't know, I want to relate it to like a food, like a restaurant. Like they drop some food on the floor, like, oh shit, let me just put this back on the plate.
Dust it off real quick.
Dust it off real quick. I don't want to get in trouble. I want to like get the customer mad or something, let somebody know that something happened.
Right. And we knock T-Mobile all the time, but at least they're transparent.
Right. Yeah,
Like
T-Mobile's letting us know.
At least they let us know.
Yeah. And it's you know, it can be even a bigger issue if like if it comes out that they hid this kind of information and didn't reveal it to the public. I know, I think we talked about it before. I think maybe some new laws, something like that, are coming up, or they've already enacted to like counteract companies that are trying to keep their breaches secret. But I can't think of it off the top of my head. But obviously, it's something very important to us, to the community, all up. But Shannon, you have some thoughts on this one?
So I do. So something I picked up on, right, was that they did this in the UK, right? So this study, when they did this was asking companies in the UK. Now, the reason I think they do it is because they take cybersecurity and IT a little more serious than we do in the States, right? Like they have all types of protection laws and whatnot. Like even when I was doing my studying for CISP, they got those it's the eight different protections they have. I can't remember what it was, the GPRB or whatever it was, right?
Yes. Some
Like
yeah.
yeah.
You got letters. I don't know if they
Yeah,
right.
yeah. They might be out of order though. They might be out of
Yeah.
order. But over in the UK, like they take it in Europe, they take it more serious, right? So I think that's why their IT leaders are a little more scared to say something, because they can't come out with this and then the government be like, well, wait a minute, we support you in this, right? Like we've made all these laws that have to be followed and all these things need to be done, which is why that's why they're not saying anything about it. I think if this was to happen in the States, they'd just be like, we wouldn't make any money doing that. So yeah, we just didn't do it. And then just not think anything about it, right? And then just go about their business. It's like la da 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 da. Just keep it moving, right? If it was the States,
Right.
So
Right.
I think that was the big difference here, is that it was mostly people interviewed in the UK, where they take it a little more serious. Like here, yes, we are, like you were saying, we are making more laws and things like that, and executive orders even, right?
Yeah.
To try to combat some of the stuff that's going on, which is good to see. But over in the UK and Europe, man, they stay on top of this type of stuff. So that's why, because to their government, they probably seem like they're being a little negligent, right? Like these 8 things say you should be protecting these things like this, and you should be doing this, that, and the third, right? Do care with people's information, right? Due diligence when it comes to doing this, different things like that. So I think that's the reason why. And those numbers they have in the article are crazy high, man. I'm like, wow, are you really telling me? You know what I mean? Like 92% of respondents said their organization suffered an incident in the past year, and 78% feel unprepared to deal with cyber threats. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, how is that possible, right? Like anything you may need for a cyber threat is out there. No, granted, you'll have your onesie twosies, right? To where something may happen where it's like, man, we've never seen that before. We got to figure out something.
Right. Your 0 days and
exactly.
yeah.
But for the most part, stuff is out there to combat these things. But it's just the amount of money that these companies may or may not want to spend. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think that's the biggest part, is the amount of money it takes to actually protect it, right? What's our return on investment? And if they don't see it, then they're just like, well, we just cut that. Like we talked about the other company that cut their whole cyber team. But being in that person's in the suite. So that's what makes me a little bit more kind of confused. Like I get, like, nobody wants to snitch on themselves and potentially lose their job, but you would think you're offered certain protections, as well as long as you're not being negligent. Like, hey, we found something in this, and then you can relate it to this. We need to protect this, or else we're going to lose this data, and then people will have to get, LifeLock or something like that, or we'll lose this data, and these people can turn around and sue us because of this. That person is supposed to be in a position where they can actually relate it to business. Like, I think that's why the BISO is becoming so important, and it's starting to become a thing. Because I think you need somebody who can bridge the gap a little bit better. Like, I think your CTO might not be as technical, or at least not be able to speak the language good enough to give the vision of the C-suite down to the technicians that are to protect it. And then I was watching a few videos on what BISOs are supposed to do. Like, they're supposed to be very knowledgeable of the tech, so they can speak to the people who are doing the protection, but they also have to be very business savvy and understand how these apparatuses, devices, policies affect the business and how much the business is going to make. And if anything, it's a point of contention with people who are in the cybersecurity team, because you have somebody who can check you now, who actually speaks your language. But you also have a champion, right? Like if you actually do find something that's very important, they can go and talk to the C-suite, let them know like, hey, if we don't do X, we're going to lose Y, and it's going to be bad. And they can, not to say they're dumbing it down, but there's two different languages being spoken, so you need somebody who can bridge that gap.
Yeah, but the person that's in that field is not making the ultimate decision, right? Usually it's your CEO or COO, whatever your top guy.
Right. But you think it would be your CTO, but apparently CTOs are just like, I don't know about that.
I mean, they're the low person on the totem pole up in the C-suite. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, now I got to spend all these, hundreds of thousands of dollars for protection. Like, I'll risk it. And look, they probably have no problem putting it on somebody else. If the what should hit the fan.
Right. But maybe so, like you said, they're the lowest person on the totem pole, so that's why they're more likely to lose their job. Like I would see another CTO. Someone's got to take the fall. Give it to him or her. So it could be that, because the CEO is not going to walk away unless the board or whomever says you got to go. So it could be that as well. I honestly don't know. I've never been in that position. But I would think that your integrity or your likelihood of losing, money, position, or the ability to find a new job would push you to being more transparent. Because if you get fired from the C-suite, how easy is it to get to another C-suite? I don't know. But
that's a good question. That is a good question, right? But like, I don't imagine people with that experience I'm not going to sit here and say they're a dime a dozen either, right? So like that field is probably small. As you start getting to the top, it just gets smaller and smaller, right? So even if you are fired, you see it with CEOs too, right? With CEOs that jump from company to company, right?
Yeah. So. But they get a lot of protection. Like they get some very nice parachutes on the way out of the plane. I don't know if CTOs get the same. I actually can't think of one off the top of my head. Like a person, I'm bad with names to begin with. Shannon knows this. I'm like, the guy in that movie who did the thing. But I honestly can't think of any off the top of my head that have a brand that is associated with something I buy. You know what I mean? Like I know a lot of the names of CEOs of companies, like gaming companies, things of that nature, but not CTOs.
Well, it's because they're the face, right? They're ultimately responsible, ultimately accountable, right, for the direction of the companies, which most of them are public anyway, right? If you're a CEO somewhere, it's for a public company, so you got shareholders to answer to, and that's who they want to get up with and chat with, right? You're the guy at the top.
Right.
I want to talk to you to see how these dividends are going to come out at the end of the year. How much are my dividends going to be that are coming back to me? How good did your company?
Well, about that, we just had a big breach, so nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But we fired the CTO. But we fired the CTO.
They're gone. They're gone now. It'll never happen again. But yeah, it's just interesting. Like no matter what the business is or the field, it's all pretty much the same. Like people want job security, but that's why I think that there needs to be some kind of protections for those members. Maybe they'll be more transparent. Like, okay, we know it's happening. I need you to fully disclose what is happening, and we won't fire you off the rip unless you're being negligent. Like, so maybe that's where audits and compliance come in. Like you have somebody come in, a third party to show like, okay, this person, it's not their fault. Like this was a 0 day. Like this is happening across the board to all these other companies as well. You should be thankful that they did disclose that this was happening. But
right.
Just my 2 cents. But definitely an interesting article. I definitely I think this one will come back. I think this will be a repeat, like because something has to happen, right? And like you alluded to, like the government is saying on the federal side, like if you're attacked with ransomware, you have to disclose it within so many hours. I think it was like within 72 or something like that. You have to disclose the breach to the federal government so they can come in and try to help you. So you're going to get a lot more of the push where you have to, because then what happens? You probably get fined by the government as well. So that's even more money you're going to lose if they find out that you had a breach. So there's that.
Or if they find out that was something that could have been prevented and somebody else got breached, right? Because you didn't share that info, which I think is kind of what they're trying to get to, right? Share the
Right.
information so we can stop it from happening to other people. You just hold on to it. The next thing you know, this company and this company got hit with it as well. It's like, why didn't you just say something?
Yeah.
We would have helped you.
Yeah. And then that goes into that board that we're talking about that mimics the transportation board. So now companies will be able to disclose amongst themselves and the federal government what's going on. And I can't remember the name of the board. It was Alphabet Soup, but we discussed it last week.
Cybersecurity, something or other. 15 members. I remember it had 3 times as many members as the transportation board, though. The transportation board was 5 and it had 15, but yeah, it was cybersecurity, something or other. Yeah.
I think it was like this, cybersecurity risk management board or something like that. Something.
Yeah.
Those words in a different order. But definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Like again, Monday and Tuesday are topics. Wednesday's discussion. Thursdays Ask Us SP. Fridays we talk about everything else. So less cyber, more media, TV shows. I'm sure we'll talk about superheroes at some point. Like all that other stuff comes into play. I'm going to take down the website, but for the time being, you can hit us up at www.theothersideofthefirewall.com. I say real fast because no one goes there. You can tell our social medias. Speaking of social medias, definitely watch the videos on YouTube. Our channel has the same name, The Other Side of the Firewall. Hit up our personal accounts, which I'll get to, but definitely tune in. We're on 6 different audio platforms. Spotify, we're video and audio. You can watch us on LinkedIn. And we're starting to share our stuff on Tech Connectors on Facebook. So I'm trying to get an episode a week on there. And you can hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Twitter, and TikTok. And you, LeVon?
Hey, hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. Stay safe, stay secure.
Take care.